Welcome to the Cozy Historian. If you find yourself drifting off before the story ends, that's perfectly fine. Just remember to like and subscribe before you fall asleep. It helps these quiet journeys through time softly continue. And before your eyes grow heavy, tell me in the comments. What time is it where you are? And what's the last thing you did before bed? Tonight, we're traveling back to the very beginning of rest itself. So fluff your pillow, pull up your blanket, and let's drift back to the world's very first bed. The silver tray and the first flutter of the heart. It begins with a small rectangle of paper. It always does. Not a love letter, not a declaration, but something quieter. A calling card, resting on a polished silver tray. To the Victorians, it was a symbol of courtesy, possibility, and sometimes, if one dared hope, affection. Tonight, we visit the Harcourt home in London, where Eleanor Harcourt waits in her lace-curtained drawing room. Outside, fog, lamplight, carriage wheels. Inside, ticking clock, fluttering heart. She is expecting a card, or rather, she hopes for one. The gentleman in question, Mr. James Ashworth, whom she met at a tea some days prior. A polite man, warm-eyed and soft-spoken, who had asked, so carefully, if he might call on her family. But in Victorian society, saying you might call and actually calling were separated by a vast plane of decorum. So Eleanor waits. The knocker sounds. The maid opens the door. A card is brought in on a small tray. Mr. James Ashworth, escorte, and in the lower right corner, a folded edge. A folded corner means a personal delivery. Her mother gives a proud little nod. Eleanor gives her heart permission to flutter. Toot, the ritual of calling to modern eyes, calling cards seem quaint, but to Victorians they were the currency of social connection. Return a card. You accept the visit. Do not return it. The acquaintance is politely ended. Every fold, every flourish, every edge mattered. So James Ashworth's folded card means more than a polite nod. It means effort, intention, a sign that he himself stood at the door. It is enough to send Eleanor floating through the rest of her day. 3 days later, he visits. He arrives at precisely 3 o'clock, never a minute early, never a minute late. His coat is immaculate, his bow is perfectly measured. They talk of weather, music, his travels abroad. Their smiles say far more. 3. Cards, bouquets, and quiet hope. James begins calling regularly each Sunday, a card. Each Wednesday, a visit. Each Friday, violets, discreetly wrapped. The air between them warms. Their glances grow longer. Their conversations soften. But propriety does not permit Eleanor to initiate anything. She cannot send him a letter. She cannot ask to see him. She cannot speak of affection. Victorian love grows like a flower pressed between heavy pages, slowly, quietly, beautifully. And then, one afternoon, Eleanor receives something unusual. A letter. Miss Harcourt, if it would please you and your mother, I should welcome the opportunity to escort you both to the Botanical Gardens this coming Thursday. Letters are intimate. Letters mean more. Her mother agrees. Eleanor hardly sleeps. 4. The garden walk. Thursday arrives warm and fragrant. James is waiting by the gate of the Botanical Gardens. He offers his arm. Eleanor takes it. They walk and talk and fall, ever so gently, into affection. At a fountain, beneath a canopy of leaves, James says quietly, I find your company exceedingly pleasant. Eleanor, shy but brave, answers, as I find yours. A quiet transformation occurs. A beginning becomes a bond. V. Whispers beneath lantern light. Weeks pass like soft turning pages. They meet at music halls. They stroll through Hyde Park. They share timid smiles and growing courage. One evening, lanterns glow along the street as James escorts Eleanor and her mother from a concert. He slows. He gathers his nerve. Miss Harcourt, if it would please you, I should like to speak with your mother on a matter of great importance. Eleanor knows what he means. Her heart flutters. Warm, wild, hopeful. I believe she would receive you kindly, she whispers, and under the lamplight, something unspoken shines between them. 6. The mother's decision. The next day, James calls formally. He sits with Mrs. Harcourt in the drawing room. Eleanor waits upstairs, hardly daring to breathe muffled voices. Long silences, footsteps. Her mother enters Eleanor's room. "My dear," she says softly, "Mr. Ashworth wishes to court you formally, and I see no reason to refuse him." Eleanor's relief floods like sunlight through a window. 7. The tender days of courtship. Formal courtship gives them new freedoms. They may walk unchaperoned, in gardens only. He may send her books and small flowers. She may give him pressed violets. Their hands may brush, once, lightly, meaningfully. They talk of dreams, of books, of music, of quiet hopes, and slowly, shyly, boldly, of each other. But even the gentlest romances stumble. 8. A misunderstanding. One week, Eleanor receives a calling card from James, delivered not by him, but by a servant. No folded corner, completely formal, almost cold. Then a note. Mr. Ashworth regrets he cannot call today. Then silence. For 3 days. Her heart aches. On the 4th day, a knock at the door. James, soaked from rain, stands trembling on the threshold. "Miss Harcourt, forgive me. My mother fell ill. I travelled at once. I fear my haste led to great misunderstanding." Eleanor's breath releases in a quiet, fragile sigh. "I was worried," she whispers. "I never wish to cause you worry," he says. And something deepens, beyond affection, into trust. They step closer, closer, not touching, but feeling everything. 9. The proposal of intent. Summer swells warm and golden. In the conservatory at Kew Gardens, James hesitates, voice trembling. "Miss Harcourt, I have spoken to your mother." Eleanor's heart stutters. "And if it is your wish as well, I would request permission to seek your hand." Her answer is a quiet, steady, glowing yes. James's eyes shine. Eleanor's heart feels full to the brim. He promises to speak with her father next, and the whole world seems to open like a flower in sunlight. X. The father's approval. Mr. Harcourt and James speak privately. Eleanor waits outside, heart pounding. Finally, her father emerges. "He is an honourable man," he says. "I have granted my permission." Eleanor's joy escapes in tears. The engagement is official. 11. The last visit as suitor. Before the wedding, one final ritual remains. James's last formal call. He places his final calling card upon the tray. Flat, proper, ceremonial. The end of their courtship. The beginning of their life. He bows deeply. Their eyes meet with soft, shining promise. And the door closes gently behind him. The weeks that follow James's final formal visit unfold with the soft, drifting calm of midsummer clouds, drifting lazily across a sky too serene to be hurried. The Harcourt household settles into a gentle rhythm of preparation, anticipation, and quiet reflection, as if the very walls themselves understand that something cherished and irreversible is about to occur. Eleanor wakes each morning with a lightness in her chest. Not a giddy excitement, but a warm, glowing steadiness, like the feeling one gets when stepping into a sunbeam after a long winter. She finds herself lingering by windows, gazing out at the street where the Ashworth carriage so often passed, imagining the life that awaits her just beyond the edge of these familiar rooms. And yet, despite her happiness, she feels a curious tenderness for the life she is leaving behind. The embroidered cushions in the drawing room, the lilies her mother always arranges in the same vase, the small imperfections in the wallpaper where sunlight has faded the roses. These have been the background of her girlhood, now soon to be only memories. Sweet ones, but memories all the same. Victorian engagements were not merely personal moments, they were social events, woven into the fabric of the neighbourhood's curiosity. Word spreads quickly. Mrs. Wilton, who takes pride in knowing everything before anyone else, begins calling more frequently, just to see how the dear bride-to-be is getting on. Other acquaintances send small tokens, embroidered handkerchiefs, a book of poetry, tiny porcelain trinkets meant to bless her future home. Eleanor receives each with gratitude, but her heart is not in the gifts. Her heart is in the quiet moments, when the house is still, when the candlelight is low, and she allows herself to think of James. His steady voice, his careful politeness, the flicker of nervousness he sometimes hides when speaking of the future. She wonders if he feels this same mixture of excitement and gentle sorrow for what is being left behind. For though their life together lies ahead like a promising garden path, the life they have lived until now is slowly closing its final chapter. During one of their permitted walks, chaperoned for now by her mother, Eleanor asks James whether he feels the same bitter-sweet pull. He smiles softly, looking down at the gravel path beneath their feet. "I do," he admits, "but I believe such feelings mean we have loved the lives we were given, and that we shall carry their best parts into what comes next." His answer comforts her more than he knows. Later that evening, Eleanor finds herself alone in the drawing room, the lamps glowing with that familiar amber warmth. She touches the back of the chair where James sat during his first visit, so earnestly trying to impress her mother, so cautious in his words, yet so eloquent in his sincerity. She remembers her own nervousness, disguised poorly beneath layers of polite smiles. How different everything feels now. Not less fragile, but more certain. Her mother enters the room quietly, as if sensing her daughter's introspection. She sits beside her on the sofa, smoothing the folds of her skirt out of habit. "My dear," she begins gently, "I want you to know that these quiet days before a wedding, these are the ones you will remember most vividly when you are older. They are softer than most days. They settle slowly in the heart." Eleanor leans her head against her mother's shoulder. "Were you afraid before your own wedding?" she asks softly. Her mother smiles in that knowing, far-away way that belongs only to women who have lived through much and learned from even more. "Oh yes," she replies, "though it was not fear of your father, it was fear of change itself. Every woman feels it, stepping from the life she has always known into the one that will shape her future." She touches Eleanor's cheek gently, but love makes the stepping easier. "And you, my dear, have chosen a man of good character. That is no small blessing." Eleanor nods, comforted by the truth of it. Her father, though quieter in his affections, shows his approval in practical ways. He ensures her dowry is prepared with the utmost utmost care. He checks that the furniture the Ashworths have ordered for the young couple's home is of sturdy, respectable quality. He even, though he would never admit it aloud, asks James to walk with him through the garden one afternoon, to speak as men do. Eleanor watches them from her bedroom window, her father's posture rigid at first, James's hands clasped firmly behind his back, but slowly she sees their edges soften. Her father points out the roses. James nods, listens, and asks a question. By the end of their walk, she sees her father give a single approving pat on James's shoulder. That night, he says to Eleanor only, "You will be well cared for." And she knows that this is his way of giving his deepest blessing. Society, of course, has its opinions, as it always does. Some whisper that the match is ideal. Others say that Eleanor could have secured someone with a title had she wished. But in her heart, Eleanor knows she would choose James again and again, no matter the expectations of the world. The days pass gently. There are dress fittings and the rustle of silk. There are invitations, embossed and elegant. There are whispered conversations between Eleanor and her closest friends, who ask every question except the ones that matter most. Those answers, Eleanor feels, belong to her and James alone. At times, she sits beside her window, watching the world through lace curtains. The street is the same as always. Children running past, flower sellers calling out their wares, gentlemen tipping hats as they pass. Yet everything feels different, because she is different. Her life has shifted as subtly as the turning of a key in a familiar lock. She writes in her journal, quietly, by candlelight, long after the rest of the house has fallen asleep. "I am not afraid," she writes, only aware of how swiftly life can transform, the way morning mist lifts to reveal an entirely new landscape. "I hope I will be a good wife. I hope I will continue to grow. And I hope that James and I will become better together than we could ever be apart." One afternoon, a few days before the wedding, a small package arrives from James. Inside is a book of poetry, simple but lovely, with a pressed violet resting between the pages. There is a short note, "For the quiet moments, with affection and with hope." Eleanor holds the violet to her heart. Her own hope expands like a bloom in spring. The night before the wedding draws near, and the air takes on a different quality, heavier with meaning, softer with dreams. The household moves more slowly. Voices are gentler. Even the flickering candle flames seem to dance with a quieter rhythm. It is during these tender hours that Eleanor realizes something profound. Love, as Victorians knew it, was not a lightning strike. It was a lantern, carried carefully, step by step. It was intention, gesture, patience, promise. And in these final days, before everything changes, Eleanor feels that lantern glowing within her, warm, steady, guiding her toward the future, a future that feels ready, possible, and overwhelmingly, beautifully real. 12th. The eve of the wedding. Eleanor cannot sleep. Her wedding gown hangs nearby. Candles flicker softly. The room feels full of memory, of hope, of change. She opens a small wooden box. Inside, calling cards collected over years. Cousins, acquaintances, ladies from afternoon teas. At the bottom, Mr. James Ashworth's first card with the folded corner, the beginning of everything. Her mother enters. "Nervous?" she asks with a smile. "A little." "Good. It means you understand the importance of the journey ahead. Marriage is not the end of the story, only the end of the preface." Eleanor nods. Night settles gently around her. 13. The wedding morning. The city wakes beneath rose-gold light. The bells begin to chime. Carriages gather at the church doors. Flowers fill the air with fragrance. Eleanor stands before the mirror, veil trembling like mist. When she steps into the aisle, James sees her, and his expression is full of wonder, gratitude, love. The ceremony is simple, elegant. Sacred James takes her gloved hands. Eleanor vows her heart. A soft kiss seals their union. The guests rise. Applause rustles like a gentle breeze. Eleanor's world glows. 14. Their first evening. That night they sit by lamplight in their new home. Ivy climbing the bricks, violets in a small vase, unopened wedding gifts stacked nearby. "Eleanor," James murmurs, "I am grateful your mother returned my calling card." She laughs softly, leaning her head on his shoulder. "And I am grateful you folded the corner." They sit in peaceful quiet, absorbing the newness of their shared life. 15. The meaning of the calling card. The calling card ritual, so small, so delicate, was the thread that wound their hearts together. A card, a folded corner, a walk in the garden, a conversation beneath lantern light, a future whispered in gentle steps. A Victorian romance is not swift, it is not bold. It is quiet, deliberate, thoughtful, like embroidery, like tea steam curling upward, like a candle burning slowly through the night. For Eleanor and James, it became the bridge between two lives. And now, as their home fills with the soft sounds of evening, their story continues, not as calling card and recipient, but as companions, partners, beloveds. The ritual is complete. The love endures. And so, dear listener, as the candles fade and the night deepens, may your dreams be filled with the soft echoes of history. Until next time, sleep well.